Today we're going to talk about the new Razer Handheld dock Chroma and whether or not it's something worth picking up, especially if you're an avid handheld user. Now, Razer announced this thing back at CES in January, and I got a quick hands-on experience at their booth and even plugged in my own device to check it out and was pretty excited to see a full PC setup all run by a handheld, which is something I've been talking about on this channel for a while now. So if you're into handhelds, definitely get subscribed. But now that I have it here at home, I've had the past 2 months to really play around with it. So let's talk about it. Right off the bat, the Razer dock is probably one of the most premium looking and feeling handheld docks I've seen and used. Most docks look and feel more like corporate docking stations rather than a dock for a gaming handheld. And while that probably doesn't matter much to a lot of you, I will admit that the Razer dock in particular does look super clean in this dark finish. Despite being made mostly from plastic, the whole dock still feels premium and what you'd expect from a brand like Razer. You have a super minimalist Razer logo on the front and on the stand, as well as rubber grips on the inside of the dock where your handheld will sit, as well as this entire backplate, keeping your handheld from getting scratched up. On the right side, you have the Razer Chroma button, which allows you to quickly cycle the RGB, which we'll show off more in a bit, and on the bottom, you'll see that RGB strip, as well as this nice rubber pad, keeping the dock from sliding around. The one standout thing about the Razer dock is this hinged piece that lets you adjust the angle of the stand so you can fit all sorts of different shaped handhelds or tablets without any issue. It also allows the dock to fold completely flat, making it excellent for travel. I just wish this cable tucked away somewhere, because otherwise it kind of ruins the portability of it. Regardless, I like it a lot better than most other docks, which usually have this low cutoff design that makes them super difficult to pack flat. Moving around back, we'll see all our ports, including Gigabit Ethernet, HDMI 2.0, which supports 4K up to 60 Hz, your power delivery, which supports up to 100 watts from whatever charger you choose. But something important to note is that the dock itself requires about 15 watts to run, so your handheld will only get about 85 watts from the integrated USB-C cable. Another important thing to note is that this cable is a 90-degree cable, which can and probably will cause some fitment issues if you're using a case on your handheld. I tested this with both the D-brand kill switch case and the JS Aux mod case on my Ally X and found that while the cable will seat all the way, there is a chance it won't. So I recommend removing your case whenever you decide to dock. Speaking of cases, while the Razer dock is particularly larger than most other docks I've used, it's still not quite wide enough in the base to securely hold, say, an Ally X while in a case. The same goes for a Steam Deck, and probably any handheld, except maybe the Nintendo Switch. So again, I highly recommend removing your case before using the dock so your handheld doesn't go sliding off in the middle of your game. Not only that, but it kind of kills the sleek and clean aesthetic if you have your gigantic bulky case in the way. And last but not least, you do get 3 USB-A ports for things like a controller, a keyboard, and a mouse, which for a Windows handheld is absolutely clutch, as I've been using my Ally X as a living room PC lately, and it's so nice to be able to sit on my couch with my wireless keyboard and mouse and just watch videos, play games, or do whatever I want, all without having to sit at my desk. And while all this sounds great, I should mention that most of the time when I would plug in my Ally and turn everything on, I would get this horrible green flickering situation. Yeah, not what you want to see when you finally sit down after a long day on your couch to relax and play some games. Now, this doesn't seem to have anything to do with the Razer dock specifically, and trust me, I checked, because the same thing occurs on other docks, which leads me to believe this is some sort of Windows issue. The Steam Deck, on the other hand, worked flawlessly. From what I have gathered, the issue, at least for me, seems to be a signal problem, which could stem from the graphics driver or just some sort of Windows display driver. You know, it's Windows, yay, here we go, you know, the classic. And while I'm sure there's someone in the comments who can explain what's going on in much more detail, I'm going to show you what I did to help fix it. So what you're gonna do is turn on your handheld and sign in before you plug it into the dock. And I know that's probably super annoying if you keep it docked all the time, and that kind of defeats the purpose of it being docked, but just follow me here. But once everything is settled, go ahead and plug it in, and once you're getting the flickering screen of death, just use the Windows projection hotkey, which is Windows P, and wait for the signal to reestablish. Hopefully, this will reset your signal, and once you see it come back on, you can switch it back to whatever mode you prefer. All that being said, I did only encounter this issue while docking to my TV, which is a little outdated, so this could very well be an isolated issue, but I figured if anyone else happens to have experienced this, I could maybe save them some time and headache. But once you're past all that, everything goes back to normal. Now, one of the benefits of using the Razer dock on Windows is the ability to download and install Razer Synapse, so you can customize the RGB lighting. While I'm not a huge fan of these mega software controllers, it does offer a decent level of customization for the RGB and other settings that would otherwise be inaccessible. I personally didn't spend a lot of time in here, but this is also where you'd want to perform any firmware updates, although I never seemed to get one, so who knows if Razer will be pushing any sort of major updates to this thing in the future. Nonetheless, everything you need to tailor the dock will be in here. But what about the price? For $80, this feels a bit expensive for what you get. While it does have probably the best build quality and overall design, it does offer a bit less versatility than other docks at this price range, which puts it in a bit of a gray area for me. If this was priced closer to $60, I think it would be one of the best, if not the best dock in that price range for its design alone. But at $80, I'd expect things like HDMI 2.1, faster USB-A ports, maybe a removable USB-C cable, or at least one that neatly stows away, as well as an optional non-right angle cable for devices with cases. So without those things, it's pretty tough to recommend this when there's other docks that can do more for the same price. But if looks and design matter most to you, this is definitely not a bad choice. It's just an expensive one. Overall though, my experience with the Razer dock was pretty great. It had everything I needed in a dock and ended up becoming one of my favorite ways to use my handhelds, especially when using NVIDIA GeForce Now, which if you haven't tried yet, you're missing out. This is how I found myself using it almost exclusively. Normally I'd say docked handheld gaming is kind of meh, because you're limited to the performance of your handheld, and trying to then pump that out to a 4K TV really just isn't a recipe for success. But with GeForce Now, I've been playing games like Avowed and Indiana Jones at max settings with ray tracing, all at 4K, as if I was gaming on my desktop. It's legitimately a day and night difference and makes docking your handheld that much more powerful. Quite frankly, if it wasn't for GeForce Now, it'd be pretty hard for me to recommend docking to a TV. But yeah, this is freaking awesome. I actually have a couple videos about GeForce Now, so definitely check those out if you're interested in it. Otherwise, if you're just looking for a way to extend the use of your Steam Deck or Windows handheld, the Razer dock is a solid choice that in my opinion has the best ergonomics for holding your handheld and packing flat for travel. It's also super clean and will fit any desk aesthetic, along with that little splash of RGB that just gives it a nice aura when sitting on your desk or in your living room. It's a little pricey, but shouldn't deter you from putting it on your list to consider. But that's gonna be it for this one. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button, and as always, make sure to subscribe to see more content like this, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.